welcome to the Tough Cover Podcast, episode 12 of the Tough Cover Podcast on the Painted Lines. Welcome, folks. Thanks for being a part of the Tough Cover Click to the 12th ever edition, and a very special edition on a very special week, live on the Painted Lines on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. I want you guys to go follow at the Painted Lines on Twitter and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. Please go follow me at Mark Henry Jr. _ on Twitter, not Twitch. And please go follow at Tough Cover Pod on Twitter and Instagram for all the news on the podcast. Today I went on the Daily Dose with Dylan Davis. So check that out as well. He's at, let me get that correct for him, at Dylan JD98, I believe. Yeah, Dylan JD98. Go follow him and check out his Tough Cover Podcast or his Daily Dose Podcast. This is the Tough Cover Podcast. Thanks for joining us. And please leave your picks or bracket thoughts or Final Fours, whatever you want in the comments so I can react and throw it up on the screen and give you my thoughts. We'll be doing a contest soon involving you guys with a bracket. We'll be doing a bracket challenge for the Painted Lines, for the Daily Dose, for the Tough Cover Podcast, for all of it, for everyone that's a part of the Painted Lines and all the viewers to all be a part of. We'll be figuring something out, and I'll be keeping you updated. I believe tomorrow I will have a link for you guys to join. Please go check out me, Dylan Davis, and Matt McGinty's Selection Sunday watch party, which is in the bio or the link below. Please go check that out. It was awesome. Had a great time on Sunday. And also check out, like I said, the Daily Dose I just did before this, and check out in the bio my West region breakdown from yesterday. I'll be doing 4 of these. This is my second of 4. We are breaking down the East region. Like I said yesterday, just giving you a little breakdown of what we're doing all week on the Tough Cover Podcast. We're going to go region by region each day at 5 right here. And then on Thursday, when I finish my last region, I will show you my full bracket or my sheet of integrity. And then on Friday morning, probably at 8 a.m., I will break down every single game on the betting board from a spread and a total standpoint. Shout out to Greg Hoops Peterson. And then ditto on Saturday morning around 8 a.m. So before we get to my East region breakdown, let's do a quick fit check. We got Ben Simmons because we're going to the Sixers game tonight. First time in over a year. Can't wait to be there at the Wells Fargo Center cheering my boys on to a win. And then the rest of the week after that, it'll be full focus, full steam ahead on March Madness on the first 4 games and on the first round, on the second round. And then we'll go. Then I can think about the Sixers again on Tuesday, next Tuesday. I'm giving myself a week suspension after today from the Sixers. It's all college basketball. So we're going to get to the East region. Behind me, LSU. They're in the East region, so I'll be talking about them briefly. Also, little synergy with Ben Simmons, even though he doesn't like LSU, but that's besides the point. We also got Jakub Voracek, who hit the game-winning goal. I sound like such a I'm just such a hockey fanatic and expert. He really hit that game-winning goal. But yeah, the Flyers. I'm fired up. They won yesterday. I'm going to the Wells Fargo Center. Had to show some love to the other inhabitants of the Wells Fargo Center, other than the Philadelphia 76ers. So we're doing the same thing we did yesterday. We're breaking the bracket down region by region. Yesterday, I was a little chalky. It might have been a little boring. I apologize if it was a little boring. That's a very tough region. It's the Gonzaga Invitational, as John Rothstein put it. It is Gonzaga's bracket. Painted Lines, by the way, before we get to my breakdown of the bracket, of the East region bracket, Painted Lines is now sponsored by XL Media, so there will be more to come on in terms of info regarding that and some deals for you guys. I do believe there's a in the link under me, I believe there is something with BetRivers for you guys to go sign up and get a deal with. So go check that out. We are sponsored by XL Media, and I'll let you know more on that going forward. But for today, Marquee Bracketology, here to take you through the East region, or as I call it, the chaos region. This is where March Madness gets fun. This is absolute chaos. No one knows who's going to win this bracket. I think there's like 8 to 10 teams that really have a chance to win it. I know that might sound crazy, but I really think there's 4 or 5 teams that really can win it. So let's pull up some of these comments. Nova from Kevin Cronin. I'm a Nova guy too. Put your V's up. I'm not feeling confident though. I got to be honest. I gave it on Dylan's Daily Dose podcast. I think that Nova goes down to Winthrop in the first round. Aram says, can I ask you a question not related to the NCAA? Absolutely, you can ask me a question not related to the NCAA. And actually, in fact, before we get to my breakdown, I want to give my 2 NBA picks for tonight. We got the Philadelphia 76ers over 111.5. I need them to score 112. We broke that down on the Daily Dose podcast. But my bet of the night, my play of the day is Portland in a pick'em against the New Orleans Pelicans. That has since went to a -2. But last night, I actually got Portland -105 on the pick'em. So I got some good value, almost even money. And I have 3 units on that and 1.5 units on the Sixers team total. So those are my NBA picks for tonight. I will be tweeting them out. But let's get to what you're here for. Let's get for the money draw here. Let's talk about the East Region bracket, the chaos bracket, as I called it. The number 1 seed we won't take too much time on. Michigan is facing the winner of Mount St. Mary's versus Texas Southern. If 16 seed Mount St. Mary's beats Texas Southern, they are the most dangerous 16 seed with the best player of any 16 seed. And Michigan, in my opinion, is the most vulnerable 1 seed. Having said that, Michigan moves on. But without Isaiah Livers, they are vulnerable. Take note going forward. Moving on to the 8-9 bracket, this is the ultimate styles clash. Offense versus defense, shooting and tempo versus long possessions and defensive stops. I'm always going to fade teams that can't score and go through those 3 to 4 minute stretches that they just can't get a bucket, because that is the most frustrating thing as a gambler. The Bonnies are lucky to break 70 even when they win their games, and LSU has not been held below 74 in their last 10 games. LSU is extremely dangerous and underseeded. They have 3 dudes who score 16 or more, with Smart, Watford, and obviously Cam Thomas, who averages 23 points per game. LSU obviously went on a run in the SEC title game and lost an absolute heartbreaker to Bama. That, if anything, it solidified my thoughts of them all year being a sleeper when it goes into the NCAA tournament with the talent that they have. Aram says, my bet is Chicago, Hawks, and Utah. I assume you're doing a parlay there. So let's pull that up. I'll help you guys out. I'll get back to my East Region breakdown, but let me pull up the NBA real quick. The association, the league that pays for play. You got the Chicago Bulls 6.5-point favorite to OKC. I don't really love the Bulls in that spot. I kind of think that the Bulls are waning a little bit. They're not playing their best basketball at all. So I think the Bulls are a risky play here a little bit. So, but Atlanta will absolutely beat Houston to get to 500. I have full faith in that. And then I think that Utah will take care. I think they'll take care of business against Boston, but I wouldn't bet on that game either way. I think it's a toss-up. So if anything, I would just suggest betting on Atlanta with the spread. I think Atlanta is the best bet you have out of those 3. Who do I think can guard Julius Randle tonight? I think Julius Randle is definitely a hard player to guard, but I think we have 2 guys who should be better than anyone else almost in the league. It's not almost in the league, but Ben Simmons is someone that should be. It's basically like drawn up in a lab to defend against Julius Randle, and he showed that last time we played them. He really frustrated Julius Randle. But then another guy, I think Tobias Harris, is a perfect body size to deal with Julius Randle. He might not have quite enough speed to stick with Julius Randle, but he will make it tough for him, and it won't be an easy game for Randle. So I'll deal with that in the 15 minutes that Ben Simmons isn't covering Randle. I think Tobias Harris and some other guys like Matisse and maybe even some of the centers will have to take some turns on Julius Randle. So let's get to the 8-9 matchup. I didn't move him forward, but yeah, as I said, LSU has a huge advantage athletically and at the free throw line. Bonnies are the best D in the country. Not enough here. Going with the LSU Tigers. Go Tigers. I'm not going to talk about this at extreme length because I talk about it a lot on the Daily Dose, but the number 5 seed Colorado versus the number 12 seed Georgetown Hoyas. Georgetown's going to be a popular upset pick in your office in the 5-12, but McKinley Wright for Colorado will not let it happen. Jariah Horn, another stud for Colorado. Both are seniors, are the best player. Colorado has an extremely experienced, attorney-tested team with some transfers and some seniors. Colorado is great from the free throw line. If it's close, that will help Colorado here. Colorado has the guard play that will win them games in the tournament. Georgetown has the bigs that will win the games in the regular season. I don't know how much that translates in the tournament against a team with such better guards. I think the Cinderella MSG run for Patrick Ewing and the Hoyas ends here against Colorado. So, and then in the 4-13 matchup, Florida State versus UNC Greensboro. This is another offense versus defense style to make fights matchup, and I'll go offense every time. But I think this is a great draw for Florida State. UNCG just relies so much on Isaiah Miller, especially offensively, but even defensively. Raekwon Gary, Balsa Koprivica, I could have said that name completely wrong, by the way. Scotty Barnes and others. FSU is just beyond athletic as they are every year, and as long as they always are. Leonard Hamilton and FSU actually got a better team last year, and they would have had a really good chance to break through in that tournament last year. That did not happen, obviously. But FSU doesn't have to be better than their team last year. They just have to be better than the teams in their region this year, so who cares? I think FSU could go on a run, and I have been going on a run, at least for now, to the second round. So let's move on to the next matchup. We got to bring the bracket down here a little bit, bring it to the bottom half of the region. We got BYU against the winner of Michigan State UCLA. This is another game that we talked about a lot on the Daily Dose, but the play-in game is such a complete toss-up to me. I'll be rooting for UCLA personally, but either way, I like BYU here to beat the winner. I usually like to pick one of the play-in game winners to make a run, but USC and BYU are really tough draws for both of those 11-seed play-in game winners. I just can't pull the trigger on either of them. But both the Spartans and Bruins are up and down. They play up to competition and they play down to competition. So that makes them tough to predict, and it makes the trends tough to trust. But they could easily soar past BYU Texas to the second weekend. They could go to the Sweet 16, either of these teams. In fact, all year, I thought UCLA was built for the tourney with great guard play, but they've lost so many close games down the stretch. They've lost so much confidence, in my opinion. It's hard for me to back either UCLA or Michigan State, which was a team I was really confident in, making a run in the Big Ten tourney, who absolutely pooped their pants when they got the chance to do so. So I like BYU to take care of business here behind Barcelo, Everett, and Harms. The BYU Mormons, who are senior-laden, advance. I like BYU to advance there. Number 3, Texas versus number 14, Abilene Christian. Don't have a lot to say here. Texas coming in hot after winning the Big 12. I think they absolutely roll here. I think they blow Abilene Christian out. Little brother Abilene Christian could come in fired up, but Texas just has way too many athletes. So let's advance BYU and let's advance Texas. That'll be a fun matchup in the second round. So let's get to the 7-10 matchup, which is number 7 seed UConn against number 10 seed Maryland. I absolutely love this matchup for the UConn Huskies. UConn is underseeded, and Maryland is a fringe tourney team for me. Bouknight and Sanogo will just be too much for Maryland, especially Sanogo on the inside. I just don't see how Maryland deals with that length. I'll roll with UConn to win here and to move on to face the winner of our next matchup, which is a fun one. We get to number 2 seed, number 15 seed. This is the most maybe Iowa Grand Canyon and Alabama Iona are two really fun 2-15 matchups. Some of the most fun I've seen in a long time. Nate Oates versus Rick Pitino. Bama, just too much athleticism, too much speed, too much shooting. But good for Rick Pitino for getting Iona here. I know that they've been here a bunch already, but Rick Pitino took over a program and took them right to the tournament. It shows how good of a coach he indeed is. But it is a shame his stay in the tourney will be quick, if you get my drift. Shout out Papa John's. So let's move Alabama on to the next round, and we're going to go backwards here. We're going to start at the 7th seed. Actually, you know what? We'll start with the 1 seed. We'll work our way down. We'll go number 1 Michigan versus number 8 LSU, and this is my biggest upset maybe of the tournament. LSU has 4 dudes with Thomas, Smart, Watford, and Days, and Michigan just lost one of its legit 3 guys. Both teams play so high scoring. I'll go with the team that's got their horses, that's got their scorers. Livers going out, killed them last week. LSU and the gangster Will Wade cranked that on to the next round. I dropped my notes because I had to crank that for Will Wade. But I think LSU is a tremendous upset value there. I wonder what the spread will be. I actually don't think it'll be too huge. It'll probably be like a 6-7 point spread, and I will absolutely be hammering the LSU Tigers once again. Go Tigers. Florida State versus number 5 Colorado. I love this matchup more for Florida State than I love the last matchup for LSU. And I love Florida State to get to the second weekend here. Colorado does not have the length for Florida State. FSU just too fast, shoots too many threes. I know Colorado has McKinley Wright and an old team, and they've dealt with Evan Mobley. They've dealt with a team with bigs before. I don't think USC is quite in Florida State's class in terms of athleticism. So I'm going with Florida State to move on to play LSU in a fun matchup in the Sweet 16. And then number 6, BYU versus number 3, Texas. BYU's win against San Diego State on the road is really what's giving me the confidence here to pick them to beat a similar team to San Diego State in Texas. This is such a tough game to pick, but I'll go with BYU's experience. I'll go with their tourney-tested ability. I think their 4 best players being seniors is absolutely huge. I feel like Texas is becoming a trendy Final Four pick, which makes me like BYU even more. Texas hangs their hat on defense, but BYU's defense is actually better, and their underlying numbers are very similar. So I am going with the BYU Fighting Mormons, a.k.a. the Cougars, So moving on to my 2-7 matchup, number 2 seed Alabama Crimson Tide versus number 7 UConn Huskies. This is yet another damn near impossible game to pick. I love Book Night. I love Sonongo, but Bama has so many dudes. I wish UConn was matched up with Houston, Iowa, Kansas, someone else that I liked less as a 2 or a 3 seed. But Alabama can just score so fast. UConn goes through some scoring lulls that I just don't think you can do against a team like Alabama with Herb Jones, Shackelford, Kennerly, Petty, Primo. They can all shoot the absolute hell out of the ball. I'm pretty damn close to saying the winner of this game goes to the Final Four. But this is my toughest game to pick. I won't quite say that because so many teams can win this region, but it's kind of what I believe in my heart. But the winner of that game goes to the Final Four, which might spoil my picks for the Sweet 16. But we're going without notes here. We're breaking it down. Sweet 16, best 4 teams left in their region. Something interesting here that I want to point out. LSU versus Florida State. I think these are 2 teams that are pretty much exactly even. Like, I really think that these teams match up exceptionally well. You could say on both ends, if you're Florida State, you feel good about the matchups. If you're LSU, you feel good about the matchups. I would actually give the slightest of slight edges to the LSU Tigers here, but Florida State, this is a little bracket trick. When you have a situation like this in the Sweet 16 and you're not going to have the winner of this game go to the Final Four, you take the team you're more confident in getting to that game. So I'm more confident in Florida State to beat UNC Greensboro, who I think is an excellent matchup for them, and also Colorado, who I think is an excellent matchup for them. I'm more confident in them to advance past those games than I am for Michigan, or than I am for LSU to advance past St. Bonnie's and also Michigan. That's a little bracket sheet that I like to enact there. But again, I think this is razor thin. I think it could go either way. But I'm more confident Florida State gets to the Sweet 16 than I am LSU getting to the Sweet 16. So I'll move them on to the Elite Eight. And then this one's a pretty easy game for me here. No matter if it was Texas or if it was BYU, like I have in this scenario, I'd be going Alabama. I think Alabama's the best team in this region. And I think they probably had an argument to be a 1 seed over a struggling Michigan, especially if you took into the fact that Livers is out. But I like Alabama to win that game and move on to the Elite Eight. Like I said, those top 5 guys, their starters are just so excellent. So that brings you to a showdown between the Florida State Seminoles and the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm going with the Alabama Crimson Tide to roll all the way to the Final Four, roll Tide, and when they get there, they will face off against the one and only Gonzaga Bulldogs, who won the West region of my breakdown yesterday. I will have Gonzaga versus Alabama. I think it'll be an absolutely fun thing to break down. And let me give you a little spoiler here. I actually think it's a tough matchup for Gonzaga, or at least as tough of a matchup as there's going to be for Gonzaga. So, not giving anything away. I think that's going to be a really awesome matchup that could really go either way as far as Gonzaga, Alabama is concerned. So let me break down the Eastern Conference region a little bit as a whole. Let's bring it out. I know it's hard to see the whole thing at one time, but that's pretty much the whole thing at one time right there. You can't. I'm going to zoom in for that. You got the Final Four pick, like I said, it's number 2, Alabama. My Final Four dark horse is number 8, LSU. If they can get past Michigan, I do think, like I said, they have a slight advantage against Florida State. So I do like LSU as a dark horse. The 13, 14, 15, or 16 seed most likely to make a run. I really don't see one here that I think can make a run. I guess I'll just go. This is tough. I really don't see the path. I guess I'll go Iona. Just in terms, I know I picked Alabama to go to the Final Four, but Iona with Rick Pitino gets me more jazzed up than Abilene Christian or UNC Greensboro or Mount St. Mary's. I just think there's the storyline there, but I really don't see a big upset in terms of the first round happening in this region. So I would go Iona there, the player of the region. That's a tough breakdown. You almost want to say that it's Herb Jones, but I'm going to say that it's Cam Thomas of LSU. I absolutely love the way Cam Thomas plays. He's just an unconscious scorer. I think he's the most important player to their team in this bracket. Herb Jones, maybe he's a better college basketball player, I think Cam Thomas is more important to LSU than Herb Jones is to Alabama, considering those 5 guys that I mentioned for Alabama all being such great shooters. So I'll say Cam Thomas is the player of the region. And the toughest game to pick is these 2 games right here at the bottom. BYU, Texas, UConn, Alabama. These are tough games. And also LSU, Florida State. Those are 3 really tough games that are my 3 toughest games, maybe in the entire bracket to pick. I think there's one other matchup in the Sweet 16 in a different region that's really tough to pick. But those are the three of the 4 toughest matchups out there for me to decide a winner on. But that is my official bracket. We have LSU, Florida State, BYU, and Alabama in the Sweet 16, and then Florida State and Alabama playing for a ticket to the Final Four. And I got Alabama advancing to play Gonzaga. Thanks for joining us, and join us the next 2 days as I break down the South region and the Midwest region at 5 each day, live on the Painted Lines. And join us Saturday and Friday early in the morning. I don't know why I went in reverse there, but Friday and Saturday at 8 a.m. early in the morning. Please check us out. I'll be going through each game from a gambling perspective. I know there's some people here that would want me to go through each of these games from a gambling perspective. But let's see. People like Floyd Mayweather on TV, they bet $100 million on themselves. I was thinking, how do they bet that much? Where I am, the most you can legally win in a bet is $10K, besides the fact that it is not allowed to bet on yourself. Yeah, well, I actually don't know the regulations and the reason. I don't know if that's true in boxing that you can't bet on yourself. I'm sure you can't bet against yourself because you could take a dive. But how you would do that is you can go to casinos in Las Vegas that'll take $1 million. But you can also do it with like 10 different books in Las Vegas, and he can have his cronies go and collect the money. But that's I never really thought about that. But yeah, there's a lot of ways he could get that done. But please follow. That's a funny transition. Follow at the Painted Lines on Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. Follow me on Twitter at @MarkHenryJr_, and follow the @ToughCoverPod on Twitter and Instagram. Check out the links in the description below here. Please subscribe to the Painted Lines and check out the Tough Cover Pod for the rest of the week. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of the Tough Cover Click. Go Sixers, and enjoy the brackets.